Comfort is something that requires a lot of wisdom. And also, if we have emotional dependencies, we can cause a lot of problems in our capacity to say things and also to be able to bring justice. To be right is something very essential when we help others, because if we are not right, helping can fragilize. It can also create all kinds of needs and critics, and can make also a relationship very complicated. So one other aspect that is very important when we console, when we comfort a person, and especially in the couple, what I'm going to say is something very advanced to understand. Love is not what we often see in movies. I mean, real love. Love is often presented in a way where there's a lot of discrepancies, or there's a lot of emotional dependencies in relationships. To love at the highest level, we should always feel inside that we are free in a relationship, that we are not attached to the person. Love is not being attached. Love is all about respect, freedom, but not in a way where you cheat, and not in a way where you lie to the person you love. Love is very profound in a way where we should never fragilize the other person, because she can take easily advantage on the situation. So if you console and you say, oh, poor you, and this and that, it's not compassion, it is not empathy, it is not also love. And the other person will use your words, will use what you say to strengthen other aspects in our personality. What we need to know when there's an argument in a relationship, when there's a problem to solve, when we need to console also, we should never be afraid of losing the person we love. Oh, this is very difficult. This is very difficult because a love relationship is so profound, since it is the only place where in our intimacy we are in fusion. So love, making love, sexuality, the fact that we share absolutely almost everything. Same with the apartment, same if we buy a house, same if we share bank accounts, etc. This is so advanced and so privileged somehow to be a couple. Because of the sharing, we have created sometimes children together. We have generated an entire life where our family, our friends are surrounding us. So when there's a problem in the couple, it is very easy to become insecure. And because of insecurities, we can tend to accept things that are not right. So when we console, yes, there's always a first stage. A first stage is a step where if the person is crying, we don't start right away to give her lessons. No, we wait a little bit. We just act unconditionally with love, compassion, empathy. We understand, that the person is very sad, that something happened. But it is important not to stay there and not to say to the person, oh, you're right and others are wrong. You're the only, good person in this situation and the rest of the world is lost and crazy and etc. Unless you are going to pump the ego, you're going to build an ego that eventually can become like a big balloon and can become like a big problem. Yes. So wisdom and love should always fuse together, because love without wisdom or wisdom without love, it doesn't work. It creates many types of difficulties. So when you console your spouse or your girlfriend, boyfriend in the relationship, yes, you have this beautiful moment of acceptation, help to transform a situation. Because when we cry, when we are sad, when something difficult happens, it triggers in the person sometimes failures, other memories related to missing, not being happy, feeling not right, feeling diminished sometimes because what we wanted to do has not been successful somehow. So when we are the spouse, when we are, the important person, and especially in the love relationship, we're supposed to be the best advisor also. And if we lose this connection, if this is not possible anymore to give a good advice or to say to our spouse, yes, I know you're sad, I know it's difficult, but you have something to learn from this, my love. And also when you did this or did that, I don't think it was right. You have just created a sequence of events that now you are just facing. So there's a way to say things also where you don't accuse the other person. Because if you say the same thing and you start to judge and to be angry because you're not happy about what she did or he did, then it's not solving anything. Love is always there, but that doesn't mean you cannot say no, and you're going to do it in a right way. You're not supposed to be angry or to beat a child. So why do you have to beat your spouse? With words or with your energy? What can happen also when there's a problem, you feel being in the problem. So if something is not happening well, you feel yourself being diminished, insecure. Maybe people will say things about your spouse or whatever. And then you're in the situation. So it's easy to start gossiping together, on the pillow and in the intimacy. So many couples are doing this. They just and they are often, when they are together, they are talking badly about others. They gossip. And to strengthen themselves also, to say, okay, yes, I am right, I am strong, we are the best, and others are wrong. And we should never think like this. It's not healthy to do that. It's not healthy. You can build an ego of a person, but you can also build an ego in a couple. and they can become a power couple that are always like, sending arrows everywhere. And if you do this, sooner or later, the law of resonance, the law of attraction, will make that something will come to you. And of course, then when we have difficulties and problems with others or family or work, whatever, and we have not been able to solve them the right way because we have consoled ourselves, we have comfort ourselves in the wrong way, building the ego and throwing stones at others instead of just learning our lessons from it. Yes. I know. It's so easy when we live, in a relationship, in intimacy. We share everything, but it's easy just to look at one side of the medal and be in the couple and eventually try to avoid to say the real things, which sometimes is to put ourselves into question and put the one we love, the person we love, into question. Like we should do with a child also. It is the same thing. Raising a child, raising a couple, raising ourselves in the work environment. It is supposed to be good, not because we have ambition and we put down others. We should not step on the head of others to eventually become more important. The importance of unconditional, non-judgmental support so that the couple can blossom and flourish. This is what I mean. Non-judgmental. We should not judge the other person that we love, of course. She's not always perfect. She can make small mistakes. It's okay. We talk about it. We improve each other on the way. But we should not also judge others. And that's what I want to make as an essential key element in a couple. Because often couples are just talking about work, family, others, sisters, brothers, but they are just complaining about what is happening. They don't live in harmony. They don't create the right harmony. Society in consolation is also something very interesting when you understand that when a sadness has been scaled up, it can create angers. It can create, even in the extreme, riots in the streets where people can really, really connect together with the same burden, and eventually they can just explode because something is too much, or the society doesn't accept a certain way of doing things, or even an ordeal, or even what is happening every day. When you read the newspaper, I know some spiritual people, sometimes they say, we should not have bad news in newspaper. We should have only good news. And it's utopic to think like this. It's not possible to live a life like this where we avoid to talk about negativity. Evil is educational. It is absolutely essential to present it to the society, to present it to the news, in the newspapers, medias, whatever. When there's a problem, we need to talk about it because it becomes an example. It becomes also a knowledge for the population. If we avoid to say what is happening on the negative side, then eventually we build a society that is blind. And this society will just copy and do things without understanding what warnings are all about. It is very special to know that if we, for example, announce on the TV that a man has committed a crime and he has beaten his wife to death, this is very wrong to do this. But the fact that we talk about it on TV, on the news, and it's the headline news, some people don't understand that talking about it will, for sure, create a situation that will be avoided. How come? For example, a man or a woman can watch this news about this incident, this crime, and this man has beaten his wife and she died from this, and it's on the news, and he has anger or she has a lot of anger. So watching this will create right away a warning saying, if you do this, you go to jail. You better restrain yourself. You better transform that. You better solve the situation. You better handle this frustration because this is dangerous. So, one negative incident that has been broadcasted all over the news can avoid to create maybe thousands in a society of millions and millions of people, of thousands of other incidents that can happen during the same day. You see, education is not just about what is right to do. It's also about what is negative, difficult, because evil is educational. And if we learn from it, then normally we improve ourselves, and it creates a situation where we don't start again, or we try to maintain at least these negative forces inside, or somehow transform in through sports or through watching a movie or whatever. So you can have a place where frustrations can be released, unless if it's not displayed and presented to people, eventually people will just do this without understanding that it is a crime or it is not right. Anger, jealousy, major frustrations can be very powerful in a person, very powerful. So when we are in position in society, at our work also, when there's a problem, we should announce it. We should be able to talk about it, to release the tensions of the people that have been exposed to a situation. More and more now, politicians understand how important it is to talk to the population. We have always thought in the past, especially in past ancient ways of doing leadership, that the mass was dumb somehow, and they were like not understanding things. But if you make your population evolve through a situation, and if a politician will go in front of the media and will explain, we have this situation, we have this problem, no one is happy about this, but we need to live with it. We need to live with it. I've seen something very interesting, and I know many countries have done the same, but I remember during the pandemic and during the intense period of time where it was so new and it was really like questioning the entire world, And I remember in Canada, when politicians have approached this situation, they have decided to be very, very open with the subject. So, and what was quite interesting is the Prime Minister of Quebec went on TV. His name is François Legault, and he went on TV almost every day. He was there every day, for about 10, 15, half hours, 1 hour. And he was there to answer the question of journalists and to give updates. And the entire country that was, of course, staying at home, they were in front of the TV. And the way he has done this was very, very good. I have to say this. I remember seeing him. He was like a father. He was reassuring, and he was transparent. He was saying sometimes, we don't know. We don't know this thing. This is new. We don't know where it's going to go. This is a pandemic. We know it has major consequences, etc., etc. And people are dying, and the conditions for the elders and for those who are vulnerable. We don't know what this virus will do after. When people are infected, what is going to happen in them? Maybe they will have problems, health issues that can stay with them for the rest of their life. We don't know. We don't know yet. So, and he was talking and he was giving the facts and what they were doing. And when there was a problem, he was also explaining it. And it made an entire population following this problem differently, really. And this was well managed, a crisis. We call this a social crisis. It was well managed. Yes, it is true, governments cannot necessarily say everything they know. It is utopic to think that a prime minister, a president could go on TV every day and start to open on all potential threats. That's not possible. People could start to panic, etc. We need to have a way of understanding what can be shared, and especially on threats that you don't know. Maybe it's not going to happen. Sometimes, when you are at high level position in politics, you have reports from the police, from the Secret Service, etc., of many, many things that can happen. But that doesn't mean they will create major issues. They will try to stop it. Everything will be done normally to protect the society. So there are things that, yes, should be said, should be presented, but sometimes it is better to keep diplomacy in the corridors instead of putting them in front of the TV all the time. Yes, a society needs to be totally transparent, but let's bring an example of parents, for example. When you are parents and you have small children, you cannot talk about sex. You cannot talk about what you have done last night, or the level of responsibility you can have in certain situation. They don't understand. Your children don't understand that. So it is true that a population needs to be educated also progressively to have access to knowledge and to certain knowledge also. Unless, and it can create chaos and riots in the streets. And the way also we say something is very important. Some politicians sometimes can use their anger or can start to point a problem, and they can somehow generate frustrations and racial problems, etc. If you start to say that this group, this minority in the country, they are like this, they are like that, they are bad and this and that, then suddenly a lot of people will be brainwashed by the level of power you have. You're such an important person for them. So if you receive not the right information, you can end having lots of issues and problems. As myself, as a professor now and as an advisor, I do this kind of consultation sometimes with politicians and CEOs of major corporation in the world. When they have an issue about communication, they want to learn about emotional intelligence, they want sometimes to analyze certain dreams they have in relationship with a decision they have to make. They feel very alone sometimes. It's very special, even if they have a lot of people around them, etc. But making themselves the decision, being in position of power, it's not something that is always easy to handle. We think power is great because, you're on TV and you're a politician and you're very famous and everything. But it's a lot of work and it's a lot of stress for them. And it's not always easy because there's a lot of opposition to handle. You need to be very strong because as soon as you say something, even if it's good and right, sometimes you have another percentage of the population that are coming to you and are very angry, or they do not agree, even if it is the right decision to make. Unless there are huge problems that can happen. We see this happening now in France right now as we speak. The French government and the president, Emmanuel Macron, is trying to open the discussion in the society in France to change the year of the possibility to have retirement. And I think they want to change it for 64. In Canada, it's always been 65 years old, for a long time. I don't even remember when it was different. So, but for the population, there's a great, great, great intense opposition to this change in society. People, they are going in the streets, they create, the strikes are happening in many companies, etc., because they oppose this decision. And the statistics, the numbers, everything is saying that if France is not changing this, in just a few years, they don't have money to pay anymore because there are more elders than there are young people. So there are this problem of having a population that is too old. And so eventually there's not going to be enough money, and they need to borrow money and borrow and borrow and borrow every year. And they have reached a limit eventually. So you see, a society is a person. It is like a person. Each country has a specific character with plus and minuses. That's very interesting to understand that a country is a person. So it requires a lot of understanding, a lot of education to understand certain things. And if it is not done, eventually a country can become capricious, can become complicated. Yes, and of course, France, this is a beautiful country with a lot of possibilities and a lot of great things in this country, of course, a lot of qualities. But sometimes the negative side of a person or of a country, if this is increased with time, can generate a lot of problems and issues. So Support in the collective during great ordeals are often symbolic. We can see a politician, for example, or important people in societies that they will make a tribute to something, to the death of a person, and they represent the entire population. Unconsciously, we feel that. Consciously, sometimes, if we don't care too much about politics, whatever, then we don't necessarily understand all the symbolic, important events that they have to do that will create stability also in the population. For example, if two leaders of two different countries, they meet and they start to fight and they start to argue, the impact of this impoliteness or non-respect, etc., can have huge consequences. Wars can happen. You represent millions and millions of people. And through this percentage, there are people that they can just see something that is not right, and suddenly a lot of people could start to attack the people of the other country just because of big arguments. That's why diplomacy is so important between countries. As soon as something happens, they will have channels of discussion, etc. They will do press release to explain the position of each government, etc. Because they need to avoid major consequences, because it can go far. Maybe not a war, but it can have economical consequences where major contracts cannot be signed, or business people or business communities will suddenly slow down their investment because they're going to say, oh, maybe I will have more customs to pay, more regulations, etc. So the impact of just two presidents or two prime ministers, whatever, just talking together, they need to be calm. They need to be always trying to settle things. That's why in diplomacy, you have often this way of saying, okay, we do not agree on this, but we agree together on this. And it is normal not to agree on everything. So they try to normalize their relationship in the right way. So it creates a form of stability and connection, continuity, even if it's not perfect. The place of consolation in therapy, whenever the family or social circle is absent and doesn't or cannot reply to this need, it is, of course, I think, so important. A therapist is a friend also. It is an advisor. It is a life coach that can help. And this person normally, of course, should be a person of great achievement in a way where they have a good life, they are good people. You cannot take any therapist like this. And if a person is not stable, or the person is always hangry, or has a big ego, even if the person is intelligence in therapy, it's not enough. You need to be balanced. You need to be the best version of yourself. You're not perfect necessarily, but at least you have a balanced life. And this balanced life is the building ground of the relationships you have with the people that come to see you in consultation. Therapy is also a way to discuss deep subjects. And when we see a therapist, it doesn't mean that we are sick or that we have major problems. It can be just like a life coach, that is there and telling his opinion. And when we have a good therapist, it's amazing the support it can give to our life, and it can avoid to us many, many problems. Sometimes the therapist, of course, can be your grandfather, your mother, your father, your best friend, because he's wise and you relay, and it makes sense when you talk to him. He's calming you down and he understands you, etc. It can have also different ways of finding a very good result. But in certain subject, people needs to have studied that. That's why all the certified therapists at the UCM Teaching and Research Center, they have many years of studying. It's not just a weekend, to receive a diploma. Those who have done the entire process, it is 5 years of deep learning on so many subjects, from talking to families, studying also work environment, and many aspects about ourselves, about couples, how to raise children. So they receive a global learning, and this way, yes, their life has been improved thanks to the SSI, and after they are able to help others in a beautiful, beautiful way. We have seen amazing people emerging and becoming professors, becoming assistant professors, certified therapists that are now helping so many people. And they don't necessarily work at UCM, of course. You can have your own private practice, or you can be just a teacher, a lawyer, you can be a doctor, and this knowledge has transformed your practice also, and your capacity to be there when people need. So it is one thing to study to become an engineer, to become a carpenter, there's so many different job that requires a lot of studying. So to do this or practice. But where we need to learn the most, to be honest, of course, it's very important to have universities and colleges. Everything has a meaning, and a very important one. But knowing ourselves is so essential. And often this knowledge is not learned. It is only lived, and lived often through consequences, karmic relationships, etc., where we have frustration, we handle life, the way we think it should be, but we don't have enough advice sometimes to make the right decisions, and it can have a lot of consequence in a personal life. So that's why a therapist, that's why a place like UCM is like a research center that is so important, and that can make a difference in the world, definitely. So I'm happy that you do this training, because you see all the subjects that we are talking in depth, you will become that. This is a teaching that this is not just reading, an article in a magazine. This is a deep learning that you are doing right now with UCM. So when a therapist is doing consolation, yes, as I mentioned, we are there to help support the energy to be transformed. We listen, etc. But we're not there to build the ego. I'm not there as a therapist to tell you what you need to learn. A therapist, wisely, kindly, respectfully, will bring the real conversation, and he will see differently what you are going through, to give you advice that will be beneficial for the changes and for what you need to learn from it. And with symbolic language, we can go so deep, because we can study dreams, definitely in depth, and we can use symbolic language also through signs. Signs is something that people sometimes don't understand, but a sign is anything that is a lesson in life. Let's say this happened to you. there's a sign. You need to learn from it. You know, there's always lessons, because life is a place of learning and of evolution. So when we are a therapist, through the knowledge we bring, and also through our energy, that's very special. When we are a therapist, normally, and when we are a spiritual therapist, even more, then we have worked on ourselves, and we have faced different situations where negativity, where the understanding that evil is educational, that a problem is always a place to find a solution. So our energy is normally, with having inside so much knowledge, that this knowledge creates wisdom, kindness, love, support, and this is also often when the spiritual therapists have done meditation for many years, etc., is energy just being in the presence of someone that is very advanced spiritually. We feel good. We feel so good. Because, yes, we make transfusion of energy when we are with people. We do alchemy. Just this training will bring a lot of consolation for you through our 2 days and everything you have seen yesterday and today. So I'm sure you will feel so connected, and it feels good inside, because knowledge and spirituality together brings a sense of, yes, it's true, it's right, okay, and it touches many things in you, even subjects that we have not talked about during our 2 days will be improved somehow. A sadness you had, or anything that you were going through, will be transformed to a point. Sometimes, yes, to the next level, great, it is solved. But sometimes just a little bit, just like, oh yeah, you see the situation differently. What you have heard during the DSSI, during this weekend, will make a shift in you. Because evolution is a process. It's a process. And it has to be done through you also. And knowledge, even example that you hear, or dream interpretation from another person, is also touching a memory in you. Really. Support groups and group therapy are also really good when people are facing difficulties and problems regarding certain situation. It can be addictions, any form of addictions, or it can be a support group that is there for those who went through a form of trauma, or we have lost someone that we love that just passed away. There are many, many different types of groups, and it's very, very good. Why? Because you hear the story of others, and you realize, this is what empathy is all about. You realize that you're not the only one. Because when we have pain, when we have sadness, it's so powerful. We are so powerful. We are a universe, and we can make this so powerful that we can think sometimes that we are alone with the same problem.
It's like living with a leash on a little bit. You can do some stuff, but every now and then you remember that it's there.
I was living in Japan during the earthquake in 2011.
A few weeks and months of political unrest while I was living overseas. We lived with bags by the door ready to go in case we needed to get out.
I found out in 2008 I had PTSD, complex PTSD, but I think the diagnosis should have probably been made when I was 14 years old.
I was raped, and as a result, I live with PTSD.
The civil war in Lebanon broke out in 1975. I was only 17 years old. I lived through that for about 12 years.
As it kind of sunk in, I started to feel really guilty because I had always associated PTSD with people who had been to war, and I just didn't think I deserved it.
The PTSD triggers, they ambush you. You don't know when it's gonna come. It's sort of the unknown. Every day you wake up and you don't know if you're going to have a trigger today.
I was at a movie and there's a part where this woman got trapped in a car. I had a serious panic attack.
There was a song that was talking about like shooting and armed robbery, and just hearing that song, like, that was all it took.
Something happened when I was 13, and when my trigger happens, in that moment, I am 13.
Usually the sounds of jet planes overhead would trigger off the memory for me of those days. It would make me feel weak in the legs, and my memory will go back to that time trying to look after my children when they were little and protect them. Yeah, all I had to do is hear a jet plane and that's where my mind will go.
At times, it has literally felt like I'm dying. You feel like you're never gonna get past this. One of the things that's helped me a lot was group therapy. This happens to more people than you think.
Start to have a conversation with this thing that you have.
I did counseling for 2 years in college, and it felt like that got my life into a pretty manageable place.
I am trying to build up the courage to attend a support group.
I would have these days where you're just like, you know, there's nothing I can do to do anything that you're supposed to do. In group therapy, someone called it a lost day. It's such a simple thing, but putting the words lost day to those days helped me like overcome.
Memories are so powerful, and this is what we study at UCM when we do symbolic language and dream analysis, and when we study signs. This is exactly what we do. We connect with memories. Other situations represents fraction, percentage of ourselves, so it represents memories. Memories are so in us, and that's why we are so different. Humans look alike. They have ears, eyes, mouth, legs, but they are different inside because of their memories. And even the memories creates a different body. The body will be different because the memories will trigger habits, the way we eat, the way we sleep, what we look like, what kind of clothes we like, etc. If we take care of ourselves well or not enough or too much, this is all coming from our memories. That's why we need to transform these memories, the negative ones, of course, and keep the positive ones. So we reprogram progressively ourselves, and by understanding what is not the best to do, what is negativity, etc., or percentage of it, then we just refine ourselves. We refine our relationship. We refine, our calm. And one day, yes, we feel good. We feel good. Whatever problems that happens anywhere, even a movie, anything, will not create stress. This is very advanced what I say, but that's what enlightenment is all about. Enlightenment is one of the most advanced stages of spiritual development, where knowledge creates lights. And enlightenment means you see things, you understand things. You don't have zones in you that are dark, that are heavy, difficult, unknown. And when you know, you don't panic. When a doctor sees blood, on a patient, he doesn't panic. Why? Because he has knowledge of this right away. Instead of panicking, the knowledge he has learned is triggered in him, and he knows the protocol. I have to do this. And because he has repeated and studied profoundly during many, many years his knowledge to become a doctor, then he can be placed in a situation of emergency and he will know what to do. The knowledge will be more powerful because he has inscribed this knowledge in his memories, you see. And this is the same thing when we work on ourselves. We transform our memories, we transform our karmas, we study dreams, we study nightmares, we don't panic when we see a nightmare, we de-dramatize, we understand it's a percentage, it's not only us, and eventually we wake up with a big nightmare and there's no more panic, no stress. And even more than that, you are going to be strong in your dream, in the nightmare. One day, in the nightmare, you can even start to do the mantra with the angel. And you start to see everything like in the Matrix movie, everything starts just because you do the mantra. You start to do the mantra, and you start to see the transformation of the symbols around you, like the Matrix, like Inceptions. Everything starts to be different. The decor changes, things are dissolved, the negativity, it's powerful. You see the power of the spiritual knowledge in you, in dreams. But it is the same thing when you do a mantra, when you meditate, and you see something differently, automatically you have transformed something, which will cause to make you do things differently after. PTSD is linked to accumulation of memories. So post-trauma syndrome disorder will be linked and connected to the understanding that ancient events, some memories in you, have been accumulated and have created an overlap on the other codes within yourself. It has created and overwritten also some basic functions that are not strong enough anymore. So this negative data is like a volcano and will eventually, boom, explode, emerge in you. That's why you don't know when it happens. It comes like this, and it can be very fast, like a trigger can come from a movie, a music, etc. We can say that all humans can have PTSD. I'm maybe surprising you, but at a very, small percentage, you can have a memory within yourself. For example, you arrive to see your mother, and your mother was a person that was always kind of, she had qualities, but she was often dominating and also not bringing a good self-esteem on you. So every time you arrive to see and visit her, even if everything was okay, you were in the car listening to music, you were singing, dancing while you were driving, everything was good feeling. You arrive, you open the door. Hello, Mama. Hello. Oh, is it you, Charlene? Is it you? And then, and in the Charlene, poof, you feel heavy suddenly. You feel like you are like a little girl, that you're not important, etc. And just the tonality of the voice and your mother brought you to ancient patterns. It's very powerful. Memory is very, very powerful. Of course, complex PTSD can generate like major problems, like they have shared in this video, where you can even start to shake and you can faint. So many things can happen because you just you lost reality. You can even wake up from a nightmare that is very intense and you don't even know where you are. I remember myself when I was young. It was like this. I was like a soldier coming back from the war. I went through so many nightmares, intense reprogramming. So it required a lot of work on myself and change and transformation because I was open and I was on a spiritual awakening. When you are in a spiritual awakening, wow, it's definitely powerful. It's like you're not even only yourself. You are and you have access to all your memories from this life, from past lives, from others' lives. You start to become more and more collective. And this expansion can create, of course, a lot of intensity, especially at the beginning. And the more we have knowledge, then the more you can securely deal with your spiritual awakening. I know some people, sometimes they come to me in a class and they say, I am even now afraid of dreaming. I don't want to go to sleep. I'm afraid. I'm going to have nightmares. It's going to be so intense. And I say to them, no. You don't understand this process. You don't have enough knowledge. You are like one of the most richest person on the world, when you have a lot of dreams and a lot of access. You just need to process it. You need to understand it is a percentage. It gives you knowledge. It's like you go in war zones in dreams while you don't have to be in a war for real. You can live, and experiment so many things. This will change you, will give you a lot of experience of life. Myself, I have never been to war, but I can talk to a soldier and I can have him in my arm and give him a hug, and I can feel true empathy with him, true real empathy, because I have received so many dreams about wars. I have seen things that were so intense. The worst scenarios in wars, I have seen them in dreams. I have studied not just my memories, but with time I have studied collective memories of people, of others. That's why I am now feeling good in every situation, whatever it is. I understand that evil is educational. I know that life is like a big school. It's like a dream. We're all here to develop qualities. When I say this is not just words. This is, for me, the philosophy of life. I'm sharing the root data of my consciousness. It is programmed so deeply in me that anything that happens in life goes straight to this essence that is the beginning of my consciousness now, which is to develop qualities. So at the origin of my consciousness and my unconsciousness, I don't have fears. I don't have any more anger. I don't have any injustices. No, I know injustice exists. Yes, I know anger exists. I know sadness exists. But I know it's a tool for people to develop qualities, and they have created this sadness, this injustice. They have been somehow resonating. They have done this in a past life. Definitely something happened. That's how we see life one day. Very, very deeply. Hiding our vulnerability or pain in society to show we are strong. Many people are doing this. Mothers, fathers, workers, people everywhere. It creates a detachment, extreme detachment sometimes, because you don't want to connect, because you don't feel good, and you can be very sensitive. but you don't want to make this feeling growing. So many people can just look the other way when they see sufferings, poverty in the streets, injustices. They don't want to understand it. They don't understand it. For them, it's just like, it's even difficult to think about God when you see so much poverty in certain countries in the streets. Sometimes you just go outside and it's there all around you. And the difference of lifestyle is so, it's so obvious. It's like a shock, you know, how different it can be. And so many people can suffer in very, very intense, you know, dramatic way of living. And others, they have food on the tables and everything is fine. And some of them are very, very rich. So understanding that we create who and what we are, where we were born, there's a reason. The parents, the society, the lifestyle, being rich or poor or in the middle, whatever. There's a reason why you are there. You have things to learn. That doesn't mean we don't have to help those who are poor or those in difficulties. Definitely. It's also a part of the work we sometimes have to do, because this is where we need to be to evolve. And sometimes it's not our mission to do this, because we are connecting and we are doing other missions. So that's also important to understand this part. We cannot help everybody. It's not possible. So we all have a specific mission, but it's important to have one. Yes. And to act always, to be, to live like we are on a mission, doing the right things all the time. So, but many people are like keeping everything inside, and doing this, sooner or later, boom, they will explode. They will go to depression, or they will be sick. A person that is sick before the normal years to be sick, there's a reason for that. You see, when you are 90 years old, of course, it's time to go. So a lot of things will start to begin the process of leaving your body. But when you are very, very young, if you have digestion problems and you are 27 years old or 38 or 49, and you have all kinds of things like this where you're not totally in health. So there's a reason. Yes, you should understand this symbolically. There are things you don't digest. There are memories in you that are causing this. And this is very important to process what we have within the negative before it becomes a reality, or it makes us angry eventually. When you see a grumpy grandpa or grumpy grandma, what is the difference between a happy grandpa, grandma, and a grumpy one? The memories, of course. The memories are different. That's the only thing that makes a difference. They have dealt, both of them, they went through problems for sure, but they have dealt differently with the problems. Those who are grumpy, they are not happy, they have not digested so many things that created a shift in their character. And when you study them and you see that they were not like that when they were young, they were not grumpy. It came along the way. Yes. Or on the contrary, seeking too much social consolation, because there are people, they are addicted to group therapy. And they go there to have friends and to socialize and just to attract the attention, but they don't really change. It can happen. And it can happen, definitely. People are like this, always like in a way where they want attention. And they play roles and they exaggerate things also. Or they just like nourish themselves with the same sadness over and over and over. Frozen emotions, what are they? Why do we froze our emotions? We can only froze when we've been hurt so much, when it was so difficult that we don't want to live that anymore. This is specific to those who went through some major problems, and it can be from this life or from a past life also, and it has engendered a type of character or a type of behaviors in relationships. For example, you can meet a man, and then you love him, and and the relationship starts and everything, and suddenly you realize that he doesn't want to engage. He's great, he's wonderful, and this and that, but as soon as you talk about engagement or living together, he doesn't want that. He says, no, I don't believe that, or I don't want to not be free anymore, or whatever. And sometimes he cannot even explain, or he said, we feel so good together now. Why do we have to get engaged? And there's no reason. You have your apartment, I have my apartment, you come whenever you want. But just living like this means something. He has a frozen, memory in him. There's a section of his unconsciousness that is not open yet. And it will hide many, many things. And even the love, the kindness, the generosity can be a front. And when you are more with him or her, then you start to see a complex person, because he's with you only when he is feeling good. And when he's not feeling good, he's not with you. So he can have a double personality just because of frozen emotions. And you can have just 75% of him or her. But you don't know, because the facade looks great. But when you are spiritual, of course, you feel that right away. You cannot play a game with an advanced person, initiate, that has worked on himself for over a long period of time. You cannot play a game. We read people like we have a natural radar. It's very easy to feel and to have visions also. Not only dreams, but in real time, when you are with people, you're gonna have thoughts, emotion. You perceive things. It comes from different senses, and sometimes it's clear, like you know exactly what the person is thinking, doing, feeling. What is the background? Analysis is very, very, very fast, very fast. That's why a spiritual therapist can help so much, because he can say and he can explain things that you don't even see about yourself. And even our radar are so strong when we have worked on ourselves over many years. It's so strong that you need to be a secret agent. You cannot display and reveal everything. It's not possible. You need to wait that the person is ready, no question, no answers. You follow the questions, you follow the rhythm of the person. Because if you say too much, the person will not be able to respond well. It's going to be something she doesn't even know. And that's why working on ourselves is very powerful. What is frozen emotion? How does it form? It forms over a long period of time. It's not something that will come, like suddenly, instantly. No. It's like, okay, you've been hurt, and then, okay, it was difficult. So you stay open, but, all right. And then one more time, this. And then with time, you need to be careful. Because when you love, when you open yourself, when you are hot and great and, living the energy fully, boom, there's a problem. Boom, you are eaten by life or by a person. So you have suffered, And because of that, you protect yourself. So you need to stop. You need to stop to be intense. Maybe you were too intense also, definitely. And you went through a lot of ordeals. You lost things. Problems happen. Love can be linked in a past life to you have lost your entire family during the war and you were alone and you cried for years and years. So imagine what love is for you. That's why people can have a different personality regarding especially love that is very intimate. Love is not just like working. Anyone can work. If you don't love your work, you can work and you can still work and do things with others. But loving is something that is from the inside. And certain people can be very good at hiding this. They develop, like a facade, etc. But like I mentioned, when we are spiritual, we feel this right away. Right away. Any person that will approach me at any moment, I know if the person is open, not open, if the person, what the person thinks, etc. The general information for me is very easy to get. And if I start meditate, asking questions, I go deep, like I will go on a computer and open a folder to read more deeply. It is that precise. It's very profound to understand that. The metaphysical dimension with time is very concrete. It's not abstract. It is not abstract. It's something that you perceive and you know how it works. And this is a new way of living, I'm telling you. You need to have a lot of love and a lot of compassion, because when you feel others, you need to always understand, adapt, respect also what they live, what they are going through. And you cannot be too kind also, because when a person is in a difficulty or in a weak position, you can start to wish to save the person and you talk too much. And then eventually the person will say, okay, that's enough, Too much will be a problem. So sometimes people, they don't know what they do. They have this sensitivity. They have this openness already, but it disturbs them. They are disturbed. That's why they want to go in a monastery. They want to escape their life. They want only to meditate. So this is very powerful, what we're talking now. Very important. The more you will develop your spirituality, the more it will be difficult at the beginning. We think everyone is like meditating and everything is perfect and they seem so, having a wonderful moment in the yoga. But inside, they do yoga, they do meditation because they have a lot of memories, a lot of sensitivity. They need to deal with this. It is with time, yes, that we feel great. But the process from going from A to Z, it's like a language that we need to learn, and it takes time. Frozen emotions that prevent consolation. Yes, at certain level, when a person is really, really, completely closed, it can be very difficult to console. They can be angry. Normally, that's what happens. Your calmness creates a calmness attitude where you become angry at others, so you don't feel things. Every time there's a problem, it's not you, it's others. And you can become very critics, etc. during this situation where you froze the emotions. Or if you're not emissive anymore, because only anger, critics, or just doing things, proving others, and I'm the best at the best, so complex of superiority, etc. can happen with frozen emotions somehow. Or it can create another type of character where the person is like she has no fire anymore, so no more energy to manifest. Extreme of this, autism, etc., where you froze when there's a situation that is intense, when there's a lot of emotions. So, and I remember myself when I was young, I have shared this many times, but when I was young, I was very, very open, very spiritual, etc. Of course, I didn't have anger, I didn't have, judgment, things like this. I think this was helping me. But when there was an emotion that was very, very intense, etc., I was becoming autistic. I was not even hearing anything anymore. I don't have this anymore. But I used to have this when I was young, over a long period of time, even until the age of 26 years old. I was still going through these phases. It was very, very, very profound for me when there was a moment that was creating negativity, disorganization, because I was so receptive that I was going inside, and I was like kind of going up, so it was creating a transfer of energy inside of me. That was very powerful. Yeah, I don't think I can associate this with frozen emotion in my case. I agree with this. But there was a transfer of emotion that was so powerful. I used to not even hear anything, trying to just repeat the words, the sentences, just to make sure I can connect or reconnect. To make sure because there was a conversation, so I needed to continue the conversation. So it was like I was not understanding humans when they were negative or unhappy or this or that, or having a lot of tensions. That was kind of, not my nature at the time. I needed really to strengthen myself, and through the process of growth and understanding knowledge more and more, this made me capable of being emissive, because I was very, very receptive. I was more feminine than masculine. And today, yes, I can tell you that it's amazing for me to have access to both polarities and feel great about this. But I still have this knowledge of the secret agent. But now it's easy to handle. It's easy to handle. I don't need to retreat inside or to escape and become a monk or whatever. I can face a situation because I understand. I see the pain, the sufferings, the problems. I see them differently. I don't see them like they are like affecting me, or I understand globally, and I know it's okay to go through this, etc. So the process of meditation and of knowledge has completely changed. The heart's armor, that is something that we go to another extreme for those who have been hurt so much. They have been hurt so much, for many lives. Normally, it's not just one life when you have this, because if in this life a person went through a hard time with parents and everything, it's because there was a karma also coming from past life. There's no reason for a child to be trapped in toxic family and relationships. So we have created this, so we needed to learn from it and change and transform it. Many of you maybe have gone through the process. So, and this is not something that will block your spiritual awakening. It is a trigger. You see, this is important to understand. You can cleanse and transform everything from your past life and this life by a very profound, serious, and disciplined spiritual work. So definitely, the notions of the heart's armor will come from someone that it needs to protect, in a way where he can even attack, or he can be totally sealed somehow. And there are people like this. You see people like this where they have major difficulties, to open. They are selfish most of the time. When you reach that level of closeness, you are so sealed that it can be leading to many profound memories. Excessive tenacity, if we don't encounter our sorrow, we cannot transform them. True emotional alchemy cannot be done only with our intellect. So sooner or later, those who try to control this and they try to play the perfect life, or they are strong everywhere, they say everything is perfect and great and things like this, eventually they will have migraines, huge migraines. Those who have this, they have control too much with their mind, and this is why the body reacts like this. The capacity to visit our emotions without emotional overflow, without having a tsunami, etc., etc. So this is interesting because these are symbols in dreams that we can meet and face, and it is normal. Even myself, I went through a lot of tsunami when I was young, and avalanche and all kinds of things. This is very powerful, and to connect with the emotions, to work on our emotional program. It takes time. It is a process that we do to eventually liberate and transform our deep emotions. So emotions creates movements. So when there is a tsunami, etc., that means that from the unconsciousness there was a liberations of extreme negative emotions of destruction on a collective level that we have accumulated, because a tsunami can destroy like an avalanche, monsoon, etc. So they are emotions that are overflowing in a way where they destroy our life. So we can see this in relationships, but when it is affecting a region or where we live, there's also a resonance. If the universe has not told you in dreams, do not build a house or an apartment there, do not live there, because this is a place that can eventually facing some natural catastrophe. So you will have something to learn going there, and the destruction will create a lot of emotions on the negative level, and the good side will be helping others, because that's the good side of natural catastrophe. It brings people together in a very, very profound and beautiful way. Sometimes you don't even know your neighbor, and suddenly you need to help him like he is your brother and sister. So that's interesting. And in dreams, one day it goes so far that I am used to receive dreams about the weather. I can see this in advance. It's amazing. Premonitory dreams are very important. And one day we can be guided. If we don't have karma, the universe will tell us, don't go there. Don't build a UCM center one day in the future in this region. But you can go there, there, there. I have already a map of information that I have received in dreams for many, many years now about where to go. And I cannot for UCM in the future. And if the UCM centers are not necessarily built before I have to leave this plan, this dimension, I will keep this in my will for my predecessor. And they will know, and they will confirm this with their own dreams, and because at UCM we have many amazing professors now that can receive premonitory dreams at various levels, and we make decisions like this. It's very amazing when we have meetings together and then, okay, I had a dream about this, and we're working on this, and I dreamt this, and we share like this, and we make our decision. It's a new way of living that we are also studying at UCM. I can tell you this, because dreams one day, after we have worked on ourselves a lot, eventually they become guidance. We receive information, we can ask questions in dreams. Everything that we don't know, we can verify, because the universe is like a big internet, a big, I call it Skynet. God is a living computer with wisdom and love and qualities at their pure state. And this amazing, great AI, SI, spiritual intelligence, we live in this energy. The earth looks like an atom when you look at it. It's very special to look at the galaxies and to then use a microscope to look inside a cell. Mastering intense energies. That is very important, because now we have shifted, to a new era for humans. Humans are more open. They have access to technology, to the multiplications of things more easily. Countries are connected more than ever. Imagine if we go back hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It was impossible to travel, to take a plane, or it didn't exist. And now we have internet, we have smartphones, computers, communication. Most of you are working and using communication in a way where it is very magical, where you can send information and receive information like in your computer. You don't do anything. So somehow you're just sitting in front of a computer, and then you can connect with the world and receive many information. Imagine what the universe can do. So mastering intense energies are part of the amazing quest that we all have to do now, and understand the collective dynamics, but also the personal dynamics. Because when someone is too intense, or something is too intense, it can create difficulties. Intensities are great, wonderful, but they need to be beneficial.
Just take your time.
I've waited over 15 years for this moment. Do you hear me?
Hey, man.
Over 15 years. I do not know who you are. People tell me that you are the champ. The champ of what? Your drug addiction has caused you only to see Rocky the champ. I believe that you've forgotten who Ricky Lockridge is. Ricky Lockridge is a father. He's a brother. And he's a friend. You've left me looking over my shoulder at every black man that walks past me, hoping that it was you. Somewhere deep down in my heart, I still love you.
Wow. Have you heard the sound of his crying? That was so deep, so deep. It was like a baby that was crying. Like he didn't even know how to cry anymore. His suffering was hidden for a long, long time. And it came out suddenly. And even before, when he was listening to what the young man was sharing, his son, he was like listening like a champ, like a strong pillar, because he was used to protect himself, to hide things, to protect himself, to be strong in life. And when the sun set, and after all this, I still love you, this is where he burst in tears. It came from, it was like kind of a survival energy in him, coming from even past lives. It was very touching, very, very profound. It's not because someone from your entourage, maybe you have someone like this, like an elder or father, mother, and they seem so strong and so powerful on top of everything. But that's just a facade. The more you are tough, the more you are strong, the more inside you have fragility. If you have a complex of superiority in psychology, that's because you have a complex of inferiority somewhere inside of you. Everything too much you do, every intensity hides something that is linked to a lack inside. When the word courage was adopted into the English language, it came from the Latin word cor, meaning heart. Its original definition referred to our innermost feelings, our inner strength, who we are with all our heart.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you can climb down. I know what it's like down here. And you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
And let me share something that you may have never heard, probably. The most advanced place to develop empathy, it is in dreams. In dreams, you will accelerate your evolution. you will see things, live things, go through all sorts of emotions that are unimaginable, that will make you know things, knowledge, spiritual knowledge. So dreams are always part of a school program. We evolve. We first, of course, work on ourselves. Definitely, like at school, when you start to learn about the first math. 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 1 apple plus 1 apple. It's very personal. You don't use it for your work when you are a child. It will come later. It will become collective later. Empathy is the same thing. Empathy starts first with ourselves. Before we become and use empathy, empathy is linked to experience. So before we use it, we need to learn it from ourselves. So the best way to understand empathy is when you go through an ordeal yourself, you have a nightmare, you go through difficulties, as soon as you can say to yourself, okay, all right, I've learned something from this. I'm growing. That's what life wanted. I accept it. Then you are in empathy with yourself. And one day, then you become the top spiritual therapist. Because when you approach others, you understand them. You have a connection with them. Because even if you have not lived this in real life, you have lived this in dreams. That's why, don't say, I want less dreams. Receive all the dreams that you need to receive and study them. Because the most advanced psychology is presented to you to become spiritual and enlightened. The difference between compassion and commiseration, between sympathy, empathy, and pity, feeling sorry for someone. Yeah, many people are, I'm so sorry for you in this. No, I'm not sorry for you. You have a cancer, you have this problem, you've been through a major difficulty with your parents. I'm not sorry for you. I have compassion, empathy. I know it's good for you. I don't wish that to you, but I know it was good for you because I know you have learned something. You will never do like your mother and father, maybe, again. So that's already good. You have passed this. You have transcended something. But if you keep anger about others, about what happened, about your ex, about your failure, about your insecurities, then you don't understand. We're here only to develop qualities. That's it. If it's not your ex or your mother, father, it would have been another person. It was meant to be for you to live that. I'm sorry. And that goes very, very far. I'm going to say something that it might be like, a shock for you. But if someone has been raped when they were young, whatever, this is a crime. Yes, it is a crime. Should never happen. But if it has happened, it's because that person has raped someone in a past life. That's where spiritual empathy rings and ring another bell. Self-acceptance is essential for us to be able to accept others, accept ordeals of any kind. Because whatever we reject on the inside in ourselves, we also reject on the outside in others. So understand that you are a universe and everything in you, around you, it's all you. You all only meet through resonance and programs. You are with this family, there's a reason. You have this husband or wife, there's a reason. You have met this boyfriend, girlfriend, there's a reason. You have These kinds of children, there's a reason. With their plus, with their minuses. This is a school, and you need to handle things and improve all the time. Doesn't have to be perfect. It has to improve all the time. Understanding discouragement, feeling low. Why do we have this emotion in us sometimes? It's because you have felt too much courage. You have done the opposite. You have force. You have been tough. You have done this and that and this and that. And eventually, you were broken by a situation. And then you got scared. Then you are more fragile. Because all your memories that you have not worked before, it was a facade, that's the first stage. And then eventually the facade is not working anymore. And then the negative, the weaknesses, they start to appear. And then no more courage. And you feel low. You feel low because you felt too much. You're low in energy because too much energy. You have tried it and it's not working anymore. So what is good in this is like you have reached another stage in your growth and evolution. Because you went through from experimenting, doing things, didn't work, you ran, and then the memories were recorded, etc. Then bang, bing, bang, bing, bang, bing. And the good things, of course, mixed with all this. It's always like that. It's never only negative. And eventually, then the facade. Then you are intelligent. You become to have experience through many lives. So you deal everything to get what you want. And you make this happening. Then this is creating also failures because too much is not good, like not enough. And eventually, the seals of all the content of misinformation, negative memories come out. What memories are related to loss of confidence? Again, the opposite will give you the answer. Having too much confidence, living like this for a long period of time, and you have pushed, you were not sure, but you were doing it anyway, and you were playing the games, etc. And eventually, a failure happened. Something broke the system in you. And then, you're not sure. Because you were too sure. It was not natural. Your self-esteem was not natural in you. It was a role. It was a facade. And there's a renewal in process. And you need to go through this loss of confidence to rebuild. There's a positivity to this, which is to think more deeply instead of just copying like a monkey everyone. And copy society, copy others, your parents, your traditions, etc. You need to question that to evolve, to go to the next level. And this is where you can rebuild your confidence. I have lost my confidence when I was young. I remember that. And I have rebuilt it with the right values because I needed to rethink everything about myself and my life. How can we develop and rebuild our self-confidence? Through small things. Small things. You just tie your shoes and you say, this is the first time and the last time that I will tie my shoes. To live your life like if it is the last day with quality. Everything is deep. You wash your hands, it's deep. You cook. You love your meal. You are happy about yourself to do this salad or just to cook something. You need to reprogram for small things and you say good things to you. You are happy. You thank God, the universe. After, you start also to learn to give yourself compliments, to be happy about what you do, the small things. This is where you can rebuild. Having the courage, daring to open our heart. And yes, for some people, opening your heart is not easy necessarily. But it starts with compliments. And how do you do this? I will tell you. I will teach you that. When you give a compliment to someone, the person doesn't have to be perfect. You say, wow, this is very good what you have said. And even if the person was talking and what she said was good, but she said it with the bizarre energy, with like a little bit of critics, etc. But what she said is right. So then, because that's difficult when a person is not right and very, strong personality, to give a compliment and to interact positively. But if like a laser, you just say, okay, I'm saying this compliment that is good what you say, but I don't say it for the emotion that was negative that you combine with what you said, but only to what you say. What you say is fair, intelligent, makes sense, great. All right, boss, thank you. This is very good idea, very good. But the emotion was not right. But you didn't give compliment to the emotion. You give a compliment to the idea. So you extract things and you give the compliment to the idea, and you are pointing your laser on this. You know this is where you put your compliment. So your soul is fine. You can open your heart. You can say, this is good, thank you, etc. You don't say thank you for his bad character. You say thank you because he's giving you a job. So you can be kind and polite. You see, you're wise when you do this. And this will change the person because he's a tiger. And when you're a tiger, we don't receive a lot of compliment. We're very alone in our world of power. Very selfish, a tiger, on the negative side. And the positive of a tiger is very good, definitely. But the negative is very selfish, very alone. He abandon the female, the babies, tigers, everything. It's very special way of living, of survivals and aggressivity and powers, etc. So the way to do this with any kind of people, even when the person is very shy or very fragile, then you see one thing that is right. When you give the compliment, you give the compliment to this. Look at what you do to a child also. A child is drawing something. To be honest, it's ugly. An architect cannot use the house of a child, the drawing of a child of 3-4 years old. It's absolutely impossible. It will collapse. But you give a compliment. You say, wow, that's so beautiful. Oh, I'm so proud. And you have tears in your eyes. Your heart is way open, magnificently open. So, you see, you're capable of doing this. Do the same things with adults. Even if it's not perfect, you give a compliment to what is right. The section, the portion, the percentage. It's working. I'm telling you, I've been doing this and in diplomacy, spiritual diplomacy all my life. And it works. It works. People are, feeling good, and you don't judge inside also. A heart is unconditional. You love unconditionally. In general, you love people because they experience, because they are at the school of God, of the universe. So you love them. They are a student of the universe, like you. So you see, bring this to a higher perspective, then you're going to be able to have the courage to open your heart. Emotional needs. It's interesting that we see a dog, and because our expert in symbolic language are preparing the keynotes with it's amazing. I thank them for the wonderful support in the research and preparation. So you see the dog, there's a positive aspect, negative aspect. But the negative aspect of a dog is emotional dependencies. He's always, He's doing anything for a caress, anything. He's so kind also, the dog normally. So kind, and the beautiful qualities, spontaneity, fidelity, joyful all the time, the good side is beautiful. But the negative is linked to emotional dependencies. So this is important that we take care of our dog and our cat energy, because the cat is very independent, opposite, and the dog very dependent. Interesting that these two animals are those who are in the home of most humans.
I don't mind where you come from, as long as you come to me. But I don't like illusions, I can't see them clearly. I don't care, no, I wouldn't dare to fix the twist in you. You've shown me eventually what you'll do. I don't mind, I don't care, as long as you're here. Go ahead, tell me you'll leave again. You'll just come back running, holding your scarred heart in hand. It's all the same, and I'll take you for who you are. If you take me for everything, do it all over again. It's all the same. Hours slide and days go by till you decide to come. However long you stay is all that I am. I don't mind, I don't care, as long as you're here. Go ahead, tell me you'll leave again. You'll just come back running, holding your scarred heart in hand. It's all the same, and I'll take you for who you are. If you take me for everything, do it all over again. It's always the same. Just come back running, holding your scarred heart in hand. It's all the same, and I'll take you for who you are. If you take me for everything, do it all over again. It's all the same.
It was so interesting to see each person, the way they were giving and also receiving the hug. Of course, free hugs, that's very amazing, very wonderful, very touching. How come people are not easily trusting the process? Because it's very advanced to say it is a free hug. Very advanced. It's linked to unconditional love. It's linked to the highest principle of the universe, love. Universe, everyone loves, everyone should love. We all experience love. But there are people sometimes, in the name of unconditional love, in the name of universal love, they will do all kinds of things that are very, very wrong. Very wrong. They can even abuse of others or create open sexuality, whatever. Like it happened in the 70s, the peace love movement, etc., where everyone could sleep with everybody and everyone could kiss and love, etc. You see. And then after, they were having babies and no parents together and lots of problems. Community, the notions of community, or you sleep with many, many people, etc. And if there's no structure to love, if there's no wisdom to love, it can create a lot of problems, jealousy, envy. When you are old and you don't want the person as it's old, you want someone young, etc. There's so many people that can take the concept of love and they are distorting it in the name of love, you see. So that is why we can understand this as, okay, that's beautiful, that's right, that's wonderful, but it has to be right. Unless it can be also a person that has emotional dependencies and they want suddenly to give hugs to everybody. And eventually you are like attracting people, and then they all kinds of weird things can happen, if it's not done the right way. You see, love without wisdom, it doesn't work. And love, and I mean wisdom without love, also the same thing. What are the essential emotional needs in we human beings? Love, wisdom. If we connect this to everything, we will understand that all qualities are coming from these sources. And it's beautiful because love is coming from inside. And wisdom is also coming from inside and then creates a form of manifestation. And this is what you do that explains who you are, what kind of love you have, what kind of relationship, couples, etc. When things are not going right, you say, okay, how come? What is missing? Maybe I was too kind. Maybe I was too strict. What happened? Maybe we didn't have enough time together. Maybe I was working too much. Maybe I was not giving compliments. I was taking the person for granted. What happened? These are the questions that we should always ask. So love and wisdom are two essential pillars in our life. And through wisdom, you have all kinds of manifestation also that will become like a history of who you are. And the love is the same thing. How do you love? How deep is your love? How your love is manifested. That's why the qualities, when we refer ourselves to the qualities, we see the essence of life and of its real meaning. Fear on the emotional affective level, using logic and reason to control our emotions and emotional needs to keep them in check, is quite common, especially in men. Yes, that is a tendency. Man will tend to be more wisdom, and a woman will tend to be more love or more emotional and more intellectual for the man. Of course, we have both polarities. A man, as a man, I have feminine energy inside, masculine in manifestation. When we are a woman, we have masculine energy inside, feminine in manifestation. So we have both polarities, both of us. But it is true that the expression of who we are as a man or as a woman will have different kind of functionalities. And men can tend to be more emissive, so more active, more work, doing things in the name of love, to love your family, to protect your family, etc., etc. we see the same things in animals. Most animals are polarized this way also, where the male will protect the female, protect the babies, etc. Because there is something important. Let's say when a woman is pregnant, of course, she needs to have an environment where everything is okay. Imagine if we go back in the wars, long time ago, ancient times, where it was very tough for women to exist, to manifest. And we see this again in survival regions of the world when it's very poor or traditions are really strict, very dominant, not good for women. Then there's a lot of intensity in this, where we find again the origin of the polarities somehow, but not in a good way. The more we live in a peaceful way, that everything is organized, society, then the best of masculine and feminine is also in manifestation. In the fictional world of Star Trek, the Vulcans are an extraterrestrial humanoid species history, as the planet Vulcan was extremely dry and water was very rare. The majority of its inhabitants gathered into clans and tribes and fought violently to acquire this life-essential resource. A great change occurred when one Vulcan began to openly spread his theory of logic and his philosophy of peace. The Vulcans then became a united people whose highest values were emotional control via logic and reason. Spock, one of the main characters of the Star Trek series, is half man and half Vulcan. This is tormented by his conflict between his Vulcanian reason and logic and his human emotions and intuition. He tries to be a perfect Vulcan at all costs, acting only through logic and rigorously applying his capacity to control his emotions. But his human side, which simultaneously frightened and fascinated him, continually emerges, giving rise to something sometimes harsh, sometimes comical scenes. Data, another character in this series, is an android, an advanced form of artificial life. Unlike Spock, Data ardently wants to feel human emotions, which Spock continually tries to repress. Data's logical mind has difficulty understanding human behaviors at times, even though he dreams of being like them. In the film Star Trek Generations, he receives an additional microchip, an emotion chip, which integrated into his computer circuits enables him to experience human emotions.
I am in control of my emotions. Control of my emotions. I am an officer. My duty is my duty is to I'm sorry. 2, 4, 6. 6. 6 times. 6.
Where's the ribbon now?
This is its current position.
Can you project its course?
Captain. I cannot continue with this investigation. I wish to be deactivated until Dr. Crusher can remove the emotion chip.
Are you having some kind of malfunction?
No, sir. I simply do not have the ability to control these emotions.
Data, I have nothing but sympathy for what you are feeling. But right now, I need you to...
Sir, I no longer want these emotions. Deactivating me is the only viable solution.
Part of having feelings is learning to integrate them into your life, Data. Learning to live with them. No matter
Sir,
what the circumstances.
I cannot.
You will not be deactivated. You're an officer on board this ship, and I require you to perform your duty. That is an order, Commander.
Yes, sir. I will try, sir.
Sometimes it takes courage to try to... And courage can be an emotion, too. Now, can you project the course of the ribbon?
I believe so. Captain, I believe I am feeling anxiety. It is an intriguing sensation. A most distracting...
Data, I'm sure it's a fascinating experience, but perhaps you should deactivate your emotion chip for now.
Good idea, sir. Done.
Data, there are times that I envy you.
Oh, you see, it's one thing to be intelligent, and it's another thing to have emotional intelligence and even spiritual intelligence. That's what we need to reach. Spiritual intelligence, energy intelligence, because spirit means energy somehow. So spiritual and intelligence, energy intelligence, where we understand the multi-dimension of a situation, of an emotion. We tend sometimes as humans to be sometimes trapped in one decision, in one thing to do, and we don't see the big picture. Being spiritual is being capable of having the big picture and the details. Because there are people, sometimes when they are spiritual, they are too detached. They don't marry well spirit and matter the right way. How can we transform our inner spoke? This is a forces that we can find in any people. And how can we find the balance? It's because we balance everything. We see the big picture, we analyze the details, we combine all information that we can have regarding a decision. And if we're not sure, we ask for dreams, we ask for signs, we meditate to make sure it will be wise and right. If this decision can take time, then give the time to the decision to be done. If it's a logical decision, you have no choice, you have to do it, then you need to analyze everything, in your capacity to make the best decision possible. And then, if this decision was not perfect and you made a mistake, but you have done it with consciousness, you have tried to do the best you can, it was meant to be. It was meant to be, and it is an experience. You will be submitted yourself to other experiences to continue to learn from it. That's how we should think. Dependencies, addictions are part of a life for certain people that can be really, really intense and can destroy them, destroy their capacity to manifest. Where do dependencies come from? We can analyze each dependency and symbolically understand it. When it's alcohol, it's emotion. When it's drugs, it's the notions of the thoughts, also the concepts, the needs to escape, realities. So each dependency will have a specific meaning. So alcohol, emotions; coffee, like performance. We want to wake up. We have insecurities. Smoking, this is linked to a lack of love, a lack of warmth, also a needs of meditation, a needs of concentration. We cannot concentrate, and the smoke creates this in our brain also. And this is interesting. The cigarette is like a penis, and the lips are like the vagina, you see. So both together, it's a needs of love, a needs of fusion, etc. And it's a rebellious also attitude, because it is written now on all cigarettes package, we shouldn't smoke. It's not good for our health. How come someone can continue? That's like a spoke. That's like a spoke moment where you do something that is totally illogic. You lost control of logic. Drug addiction, this is linked to the research of escapism, artificial paradise, also another life. You want really to change yourself very deeply, and superficial dynamics you trigger. Dependency and addiction to medication. Medication is linked to also healing in a positive way. So when we are addicted to medication, we want to heal something. There's something we need to heal, and that's why we take too much, and we want too much to be okay. It's like a form of coffee sometimes. Food addiction, this is linked to, we call this comfort food. We need compliments. We need also to be loved. It's a lack of love. It's a lack of self-esteem also, and feeding ourselves. It's a needs of feeling. There's a lot of insecurities linked to food also, and we need comfort. We need to feel well, etc. And then this addiction can be very intense. Weight dependency, people are too intense on the diets, bulimia, anorexia. These are problems where we want too much to please others. And it becomes too important, the image, the body, and we focus too much on this. The cult of physical beauty, fear of aging, and depending on even addiction to cosmetic surgery. It can go very, very deep for certain people. They can look like an artificial face, like Michael Jackson used to look like a monster at the end of his life. So much surgery. And all those who are doing this, their face is not natural. It's not even beautiful. And it was trendy, but I believe with time people will see when it's not natural. It's like it doesn't feel real. Addicted to sport, when we have this kind of addiction, we are like in a need to perform. We are looking for renown. We want to feel strong, to show to people that we are the best of the best. So it's extreme competitive energy.
Science.
Sport practiced to the extreme has the potential to turn into an unhealthy obsession. Pascal Pic has walked the line between addiction and passion. For years, Pascal spent 40 hours a week cycling, swimming, and running. I always say you feel alive. It seems funny, but exercising on a bike, on foot, it feels like living.
Faire du sport, être à vélo, dans l'eau, à pied, on a l'impression de vivre, voilà.
Pascal lived for sport. He competed in ultra triathlons at a very high level. He's a 4-time world champion. I'd wake at midnight and swim until 4 a.m. Then I took the train to work. I came home and I ate, Then I went out on my bike for a 3 or 4 hour ride. Then I would run for 2 hours. Then the day was over, and then it would start again at midnight.
Il n'y avait plus qu'à recommencer à minuit, en gros, et c'était comme ça tous les jours.
During sporting activity, the brain is stimulated and releases endorphins. They provide a feeling of well-being and euphoria. But when exercise is intense and repeated, the brain releases the hormone dopamine, which activates addiction.
Vous avez l'impression de flotter.
You feel like you're floating, you lose track of time and have no other worries. You're in a trance. One can imagine that for some individuals, this chase for the trance is constant.
Cette recherche d'état second devient une quête permanente.
Pascal had to slow down to keep his family together, but the former world champion is back for a new challenge, an ultra triathlon across 5 continents in just 1 year.
So you see, the Pascal described this also well, explaining he wants to feel alive. You know, that this is the energy, the trance that it creates, because inside he feels that he's not alive. So, and he becomes a superhero, the best of the best, you know. So this is something that he feels that everything is possible, and everyone admires him also, because so many people are not doing enough sports. So when they are in contact with sports people, they admire them, you know, and they put them on a pedestal, and he's feeling it. Seeking the rush of adrenaline and powerful, intense sensations. There are people, they are ready to put themselves in danger, and they have extreme, extreme connection to intensities, etc. Addicted to work. Those who are addicted to work, they wish to become someone. They have also the connection with feeling important, raising in society. Sometimes in past life, addictions are linked to past lives where we have been very poor. So in this life, we have money and we have a title, a social status. So we are ready to do absolutely anything because of the insecurities, the needs to become someone. And it's a connection to power. Escapism, addicted to fiction, books, movies, and TV series. So there are people that they live in a fairy tale all the time. Their life is too ordinary, and they are addicted to collective dynamics. So they have discrepancies between their personal life. Their life is not in order, it's not healthy. And because of that, they become someone through the virtual realities. Dependency on addiction to social media and the internet. So again, this is happening a lot right now to the young generation, where they are so intensively connected to the collective values that there are extremes that are now happening more and more, where you want to be famous, you check if you have likes, etc. You're like a star sometimes, with your entourage, your friends, and you check the friends, and it's very, very superficial. And it's a way to live in a TikTok world where you only see sensations. The good thing of this is interesting because there's a lot of data, and humans are processing data, trying to understand an emotion, trying to laugh at anything or be curious of so many things. But at the same time, they are like processing data, and somehow they are interested to symbolic language. They are searching symbolic language and they don't even know it yet. Dependency on matter, shopping, compulsive buying. So this all can come from lacks of having things, being someone, feeling important, superficial realities. Again, imagine someone in a past life not having enough abundance, being ready to do anything. So addictions are very deep. Normally, when you have an addiction, it doesn't come from only one life. It's something that you bring in you that has been inscribed in your program. Gambling, lottery, and casino addiction, This is also a place where you want to become rich fast. And then, for you, this is like a code. If you become rich, then you can do a lot of things, impress a lot of people. So this is an addiction that can cause a lot of problems for so many people. Addiction to sex or pornography, that's a need of love, extreme needs of love, where you need to be someone. There's a lot of lacks. Addiction is too much. And imagine that when you analyze an addiction, imagine the not enough. So in a past life, you were like very, very big. You were 350 kilos. No one wanted you. You were alone. You were this, and you had so much lacks of love and intimacy, and you have created this notion. So pornography, those who are addicted to pornography, most of the time they're not necessarily healthy in their body. They're not seductive. They cannot have easily someone. They're trapped in their life, whatever it is, and they don't feel socially being comfortable. And because of that, then they try to do this virtually. And others who are addicted to sex because they are beautiful and they use their body. So of course they live and surround themselves with a very, very, very sick world that can lead to suicide, because any addiction brings emptiness. Because this is not the way of living. Even sex addicts are like really, really alone in this process.
My name's Dan. I'm 22 years old. I teach piano and I work out and I go and see friends. I'm writing a book, but I have quite a lot of projects. I didn't think that I'd ever have turned out like this. I started watching porn in my teenage years and it made me feel horrible, flat, and probably the worst feeling of emptiness, where you feel this kind of heart-wrenching kind of sadness or sorrow, but you can't do anything about it. You can't even feel it, but you know it's there. You know it's the only thing there and it consumes you, but there's nothing. You're just numb to it all. It's completely flat. You're just like a robot. I was watching porn every day for 6 years, like 3 times a day sometimes. I was asexual. I mean, I was maybe sexual with porn, but I wasn't sexual with human beings. I wasn't able to be sexual with human beings. I had no motivation to flirt with a girl, for example. I had no motivation. It was just emptiness, this feeling of just, I'm not interested, I can't do it, and it was impossible for me. So this, took away my teenage years that I could have been enjoying. When I was 21, it was a summer's day and I was in my parents' house in England, and I just started just crying, just this rush of just tears. I was so desperate to recover because it got so bad that I came to a crossroads. I was either going to kill myself, I was going to jump off a bridge, I had it planned, or I was going to improve my life. And I thought I'd just give this improve my life a chance. Because then in that moment I googled porn addiction and found all the science about it, and I was like, yes, everything just makes sense. My the ED, everything that had been going on just suddenly made sense, and I felt like, wow, it just blew my mind that this was a thing, and that I had been so blind. I couldn't believe I was so blind to see that this was a serious problem in my life. And eventually with time it sort of became easier to stop it. And I just knew that there was hope. For the first time in my life there was hope. There was like a light at the end of the tunnel. And then I met my girlfriend, and there was just this connection, and I wanted to kiss her and do these things, which I hadn't felt before, not for many, many years. And it was felt human again. I hadn't felt human for a long time, and I felt human again. I can't put it into words. It's something very beyond words, really.
So this is the story of many, many people, almost all of people doing this in movies, porns, etc., most of them, the percentage is huge. I don't have this here, but you can find this on internet. It is very, very impressive. You know, they end up become addicted to drugs also, and they all want to commit suicide. The percentage is huge, huge, huge. Why? Because you have there's cameras, then you have sex with people that you don't know. They don't care about you. They seem to care, they don't care. You know, it's just a moment of that is very instinctual. Performance is there also, and you are judged very easily, very fast. And after you are rejected, it's like it's love, but it's not love. It's false love. It's deception. It's the opposite of love. So sex is not love. This is very important to understand that. Love with sexuality is beautiful, amazing, extraordinary. The plus of sexuality is beautiful. This is not where the problem is. It is our intention. What do we have inside? And fidelity in the couple, etc., a real relationship brings more living experience than just having sex from one person to another. No one is happy doing this. It looks trendy. It looks like, wow, a playboy or playgirl, whatever. But it's not a good life. It's a life where people are not talking about real things. Everything is fake. So we are humans there to learn to have metaphysical. We learn, we wish to find that. We are programmed to go deeper in everything we do. That's what we are. We are AI, very advanced AI, and we search and collect data all the time to expand and expand. And when we don't expand the right way, we broke. We broke inside. Depending on our pets, even that exists, so because you don't trust humans anymore. You don't trust humans. When you are dependent on your pet, because you don't trust a human anymore. That's why you do this. Emotional dependencies can be very deep and very profound and cause a lot of problems in people. In therapy, we can help a lot, especially with dream interpretation. We can go and explain the memories and see the patterns of the person, and even through the analysis with symbolic language of their life, definitely. Over independence, as I mentioned, the cat is a good symbol for that, because he's acting completely differently than the dog, a problem that camouflages and engenders dependencies in ourselves and others. When we are over independent, it's because we are like protecting ourselves. We're not giving everything. When you have a relationship and like I mentioned, I don't want to live with you. Let's have our own apartments, separate apartments. I don't want to be engaged. I don't believe in that. We don't need that. We love each other. We have fun. Why do we have to engage? All this means something. Hidden memories where marriage, commitment have created big problems. Fear of what others will think of us, the reflection of our own inner judgments. So there are people, they don't help others because they don't want to help. So it's very special how people can be who they are. Other people's influence, my life choices, or other people's, some people are so, not knowing who they are. And because the influence of others, they do this. Like you can be in a stadium, for example, and you start screaming for your, or you start to fight, like we see sometimes, and you have never done this. But the crowd, the influence is awakening your negativity, and you have it in you. That's why you connect with this. Unless you don't do it, you cannot do something that you don't have in your memories. Remember this. All comes from the memories and the accumulation. Wanting to please everyone, that's big part of emotional dependencies, fleeing tied to a relationship, stuck in prison. This is like a part of emotional dependencies where you are so afraid of losing the other person. You think you will never find love again, and you are too kind, or you become like and you don't know, but you become like a person of non-interest when you are too kind, too intense. We don't need to live attraction and repulsion in a relationship. Definitely, of course, that's another problem. But we need to respect ourselves and respect others. And I'm not going to do something wrong just because I want to please my wife. That's not possible. That's not possible. We are together to improve ourselves, to change, to evolve, to live great things. And if there's a problem, we'll face it. But we are there to find a solution, not to keep the problem alive just in case, we're not going to be together and we're so afraid, so we don't say anything. Reclusion, also solitary confinement, when the tendency to run away from social life becomes an unconscious form of protection for the being. You see, emotional dependencies can be also living like a hermit and separating ourselves, becoming extreme. It's one thing to be spiritual and to be alone and to work on ourselves and to take the time, and that's fine. That's not a problem, and we should do this. And we ask for dreams for the right person. It's better to be alone than to be with the wrong person, because unless it's an ordinary life, that is not interesting for a spiritual person normally. So here you have this notion where there are people that they will really, really escape from relationships, and they just run away from social life. And because they are so open, so sensitive, they need to transform their memories. They don't know that, and they don't know that they have particles of resonance with everybody. That's the key. Pushing away our loved ones, when people are doing this, it's because they are broken inside. They have a double life. They have thought differently. You thought they were loving you, but inside they were accumulating frustration on top of frustrations. There was not enough communication also in the couple, that's for sure. Inner prisoners, parts of ourselves that haven't yet been encountered and transformed. This is happening for people who are not feeling good. They have to transform their memories, and that's why they can feel like their heart is in prisons, and they can also find their mind completely disconnecting because they are tough with themselves. They are also suffering from the inside. And they have difficulties to project, and so they keep inside everything, and they have lack of self-esteem at huge level. But from that means they need so much, but they destroy themselves because they don't have it, or because they're not capable, and they just reverse the emotional dependencies, and they connect and they destroy the process within themselves of being with others. Body prisons can happen for people, and it's not just for handicapped persons. It can be also for any person that will be like having a form of discrepancies at huge level, and they are not happy inside. They don't like their body. They don't like their life. And they are just like different inside because they have too much needs, and they don't handle the program they have received.
Express?
Mala hazır ol. Şimdi. Taksi hazır ol. Hareket.
Arkadaşlar 30 saniye sonra meydandayız.
Işıldı.
That is very, very touching. We see that one day, whatever condition, karma we have, of course, there's a reason. If we don't speak, if we don't hear, if we have an handicap of any sort, but we can learn from it. We can develop great qualities that certain people cannot even know, actually. So this is transcendence. This is evolution. This is growth. And spiritual awakening can be also walking on a lot of roads, in dreams, in realities, from many lives also, to reach the highest level of evolution and growth. And one day we reach a true liberation, and we transcend all dependencies and addictions because we're here to develop qualities. We have a purpose. I don't need anybody to be happy. Of course, I want to be happy with everybody. But if happiness is not there, it is always here. Because everything starts from within.